I have noticed something recently about Euro Truck Simulator 2 and American Truck Simulator, and honestly, it is quite interesting. These are two games developed by the same company. They share many systems, they share many features, and in many ways, they continue to evolve together. But lately, I have started noticing a gap forming between them, not in terms of popularity, not in terms of quality, but in terms of content and overall map design. Now, before anyone gets the wrong idea, Euro Truck Simulator 2 is still the larger game today. It has more countries, more roads, more cities, and more years of map expansions behind it. That is simply a fact. But when I look at the direction SCS is taking with both games, I cannot help but feel that American Truck Simulator is slowly becoming the more ambitious project. And I do not think this is happening by accident. I think it has been planned for years. If we go back and look at release dates, Euro Truck Simulator 2 launched several years before American Truck Simulator. That gave ETS2 a massive head start. By the time ATS arrived, ETS2 already had a huge player base and several expansions. Naturally, ETS2 became the bigger game. But while ETS2 was expanding across Europe, ATS was being built with a different challenge in mind: North America. A continent with enormous distances, massive cities, huge industries, and some of the most diverse landscapes in the world. Because of that, ATS had room to grow in ways ETS2 simply cannot. And over the last few years, that growth has become very noticeable. One of the biggest examples is depots. If you played ATS recently, especially the newer DLCs, you probably noticed something. The depots feel more unique than ever before. Every state seems to introduce new industries, new company layouts, new loading areas, new delivery experiences, and that makes a huge difference. Take states like Arkansas, Louisiana, Iowa, Illinois, and now the upcoming South Dakota DLC. The number of custom depots keeps increasing. You are not simply driving to the same warehouse over and over again. You are visiting locations that feel designed specifically for that industry and that region. And in my opinion, this is one area where ATS is currently ahead of ETS2. Because variety matters. The more unique a delivery location feels, the more memorable the journey becomes. Think about it. Most players spend hundreds of hours hauling cargo. Eventually, roads start becoming familiar. Cities become familiar. But when a depot feels unique, you remember it. You remember the difficult entrance. You remember the tight turns. You remember the massive facility sitting on the edge of a river or inside an industrial district. Those moments matter, and ATS is creating more of those moments with every new expansion. Another thing I've noticed is how ATS is handling special industries. Take quarries as an example. The Thornton Quarry in Illinois is a perfect example of what I mean. It is not just another delivery point. It feels like a landmark, a destination, a place that players want to visit. And that is becoming a trend in ATS. SCS is increasingly creating industries that feel connected to the real-world identity of each state. That approach adds depth to the map. When you drive through a state, you understand what that state is known for. You understand its economy, its industries, its character, and that creates a stronger sense of immersion. Now let's talk about something even more impressive: cities. Because this is where I think the difference between ATS and ETS2 is becoming most visible. Look at what SCS has done recently with San Francisco. The city feels dense, detailed, alive. There are elevated roads, complex intersections, industrial districts, recognizable landmarks, and a sense of scale that was difficult to achieve in the early years of ATS. Then look at Houston, another massive metropolitan area. Again, we see detailed road networks, complex infrastructure, and multiple districts connected together. Now look at Chicago, the newest example. The city looks enormous. It feels like a destination worthy of its real-world reputation. And honestly, some of these metropolitan areas feel like DLC content on their own. The amount of effort being invested into these cities is incredible. Now compare that with many cities in ETS2, cities like Munich, Berlin. Europe is dense, very dense. Cities are close together. Road networks overlap constantly. Everything competes for space. North America is different. There is more room to breathe, more room for highways, more room for industrial districts, more room for large metropolitan areas. And that extra space allows ATS cities to grow larger and more detailed. In many ways, ATS is benefiting from the lessons SCS learned while building ETS2. The developers now have more experience, better tools, better mapping techniques, and better technology. As a result, newer ATS content often feels like the next generation of SCS map design. Now here is where things get really interesting. When people compare ETS2 and ATS, they usually focus on map size. And right now, ETS2 is still ahead. But what happens in the future? Let's think about it. ATS still has a massive amount of territory left to cover. Large parts of the United States are still missing. Then there is Canada, one of the largest countries on Earth, a country with huge provinces and massive trucking routes. And let's not forget northern regions that could eventually become part of the game. The potential scale is enormous. In fact, when you combine the United States and Canada, the final map could become absolutely gigantic, much larger than what many players imagine today. And that is why I believe ATS has been positioned as a long-term growth project. SCS knows how much room exists in North America. They know how many states remain, they know how many cities remain, and they know how many industries remain. Every new DLC expands that potential even further. Meanwhile, ETS2 faces a different situation. Europe is still growing. We still have exciting regions coming. Iceland is a great example, but eventually Europe has geographical limits. There is only so much territory available before the map reaches its natural boundaries. North America does not face that challenge to the same extent, and because of that, ATS has more room to become larger over time, not only in physical size, but also in gameplay variety, industry variety, depot variety, and city variety. Now, does this mean ATS is a better game than ETS2? Not at all. I think both games are fantastic. ETS2 still offers something ATS cannot: the ability to cross multiple countries in a single session. Different languages, different road signs, different cultures, different driving styles. That variety is one of ETS2's greatest strengths. But when it comes to modern map design, unique industries, custom depots, and large metropolitan areas, ATS is increasingly setting the standard, and I think that trend will continue for years to come. The truth is, I do not see ATS becoming smaller than ETS2 as time goes on. I see the opposite happening. I see ATS continuing to grow, continuing to improve, and eventually becoming the largest trucking simulation world SCS has ever created. Not because ETS2 is slowing down, but because North America offers an incredible amount of room for expansion. And based on what we have seen in Illinois, Iowa, Louisiana, Arkansas, Texas, California, and now South Dakota, SCS is fully committed to making the most of that opportunity. The next few years are going to be very interesting for both games. But if current trends continue, American Truck Simulator may eventually become the biggest and most detailed map project SCS software has ever built. And honestly, I think that was the plan all along.